Welcome back to The Advisor. I just want to thank our sponsors, Dr. Bradley Nelson. Emotions are trapped in our body. He discovered the emotion code and has recently sponsored the show, and we are just so grateful. I also want to thank iHeartRadio for your sponsorship and our fans and our listeners. We love you and we appreciate you. Today is a very, very special day. Back joining us on her series is Jodi Pavlock. So she is a newly published author of Jekyll Can't Hide, which is her biography, which from rock bottom heartbreak to radiant resilience, she has lived and healed a story that so many people silently endure. It was life in the grip of narcissistic abuse. And today we have invited her licensed narcissistic abuse therapist, Janet Viggiano, to join us so we can really dig deeper into this subject and help so many people. So I want to welcome Jodi and I want to welcome Janet to the show. How are you guys doing?
Great, thank you. Great to be
Um,
here.
Amazing. Thank you so much, Janet, for being here. The listeners know most of Jodi's story, and we wanted to bring you on so we could get more into the details, the cracks. So why don't we start? Why don't you introduce yourself for the audience?
Sure. So I'm Janet Viggiano. I'm a licensed social worker, soon to be a licensed clinical social worker. I have been doing this for a few years now, and I've worked with Jodi, it could be over 2 years at this point. And it's funny because you always hear narcissist, people kind of throw it around in a way, like when they don't like something. But when you start working with people and treating people who have been in a relationship with a true narcissist, it just sort of grabs you. So I work with mostly, I would say 20-year-olds up to 80s, um, mostly with trauma, with anxiety. I am EMDR trained now, which is all about the trauma. And it takes you back, sort of, it brings up the subconscious of what would make you potentially be attracted to this type of a behavior. And sometimes you could get this out of people that you see things because EMDR is dual stimulation. So you're concentrating and you're not letting other things distract you. So it's sort of what drew me to focus more on people that have been with narcissists. And I meant to look up some statistics, but it seems to me like it's more and more females that are experiencing it or are the ones that are able to talk about it. But it's very dear to me. I know it's dear to you, and I know obviously it's dear to Jodi. So I love what I do. I do it because I want to help people, and I know we're all in agreement that we need to get this message out because it's a real thing and it can
It
destroy
is a real
lives.
thing.
Yeah.
Absolutely is. I want to ask you this. Let's start with this. Can you start by explaining what narcissistic abuse really looks like in the obvious and subtle form?
So let's start with the obvious. Yelling, like intense yelling, like that you end up sort of the we'll call survivor, right, gets nervous because like when a man yells or a female, it doesn't matter, but it's kind of scary. Um, it can be insults, like putting you down to make you feel badly. You don't look good. You know, you're old, you're fat. It's like constantly throwing insults at you. It could also be manipulation that is subtle manipulation that people say you might question it, but then you say, maybe it is, maybe it isn't. So that would be, I would say, on the obvious. When you're getting into more of the subtle, it would be gaslighting. Now, we're going to talk a lot about gaslighting, which is a term also that is used quite regularly now.
Mm.
In the last few years, it's like, you're gaslighting me. So the thing with gaslighting that's incredibly hard to deal with is it starts to make you feel like you doubt your own reality. You doubt
Mm,
like, what's wrong with me? Is it me? And narcissists are really talented. They are the best manipulators, and they can gaslight to the point where you don't know. You start believing it. You start believing it. So I would say that's subtle because it's basically happening in the other person's mind that these things are like
yeah,
happening. Oh, whoa. And the subtle is unfortunately what a lot of people don't see because it's happening
right.
directly to us more than the obvious of yelling and insults and things like that.
Right. So, Jodi, hearing Janet explain those subtle and obvious signs of narcissism, what parts of that really mirror your own experience?
Every single part. All these narcissists, they basically are classic textbook. Yes, they have their overt, covert, malignant. My ex Frank, undiagnosed him unofficially as a covert, but he has hints of everything, the overt and the grandiose and the malignant, everything. And now when I look back on things, it was the insults, the belittling, making fun of how much money I made at work. Oh, you got wide, you got fat, Meanwhile, he was no GQ model. Oh my God. So, they really think they're better than you and they get some form of inflated ego from putting you down. It's really like sick on some level. And I understand it's, I talk about this all the time. It's a personality disorder, a mental disorder, but somebody who truly gets joy out of putting somebody down and just bringing them down to their level, that's sick. I mean, you don't do that to somebody, especially somebody you love, somebody you're in a relationship with, a significant other. So these were like subtle little things he would do in the beginning, very minor things. A lot of like things he did with love bombing. He was a little different with the love bombing. He wasn't the type to buy me flowers or take me to eat. My therapist
Pizza.
couldn't get a slice of
Pizza.
pizza. Yes, but he was more about mirroring me. He knew that I was a good girl, that, I wasn't into these one night stands and I was long-term relationship material. And he knew that. As stupid as he is, he was smart with that because they're very calculated. And once they hone in on their pray, they're like, okay, we're going to do whatever we can to get them to trust me. And then it gets your guard down. So I knew him from years ago. I was comfortable. He knew I was getting a divorce. And what he started to do, which a lot of narcissists do, I think, in the beginning, but it got way worse towards the end, the control with the phone calls and the messaging. It was ridiculous. I mean, even when I used to live with him, whether it was, the roller coasters up and down, if I would be out with my mom and aunt, say, going to ShopRite, he would call me literally 15 times in the store. What are you doing? I'm buying cold cuts. Oh, you sure you're not blowing the guy behind the deli counter? This is the crazy stuff he
Yeah,
would start. Then he'd hang up on me. Then I'd get all pent up and oh my God, what did I do wrong? Even though I knew I didn't do anything wrong. But
yeah,
he shot my cortisol levels up and then he
yeah.
would answer the phone and punish me. And then say 20 minutes later, oh, what, babe? I had to go. I had to do work. What are you bothering me for? You just called me 15 times from the food store. So here we go with the gaslighting again. And I can't tell you how many times, even with the phone calls too, he would call and just breathe on the phone, like when I would be out with my family. And my mom's like, Jodi, hang up. He's not even talking to you. And I said, Frank, you're at work. Like, you could call me on your work break and check in with me, but I don't want to hear you breathing on the phone. Like that's not exciting for me. I have shit to do. And it was a control tactic. He just wanted me on the phone, knowing what I was doing every step of the way. And there was something else I actually never mentioned too. Towards the end, before I left him, when I'd be out with my family, say I went down to AC to get my hair done, I was coming back. He would call me and he was on the Bluetooth. He goes, "Oh, hey, babe, you're almost home." I said, "Yeah, I should be home in a little bit." He goes, "Oh, yeah, you're getting off the Garden State
Oh.
Parkway right now. You're going on the turnpike." I was just getting on the turnpike. Must have had an air tag or something on me. Guess what? Go watch. I wasn't the one cheating. He was because, again, narcissists will project what they're doing onto you. So if they're cheating and lying and scheming, oh, that means she's got to be doing the same thing. And I used to think, and my mom would say when I got off the phone, I said, Mom, I don't really care because at that point I didn't know about the affair or anything yet. I said, but how does he know exactly when I was getting off to go on the turnpike? That's a little
Hmm.
scary. And there's a couple other times where he knew exactly where I was at all times. And I know a lot of people in relationships, they share locations and all that stuff. He wasn't intelligent enough to know how to do that. He only knew how to text old ladies. But, I mean, it's just really weird that whole control dynamic, and that all ties into
Yes.
gaslighting and the love bombing and things that go by the wayside that you just, you should have sat back and said, this isn't normal, whether it's in the beginning of the relationship, beginning or the end, but these are their tactics that they do. So,
Yeah. So it sounds like there were tons of really early subtle signs, which led to the bigger, bigger signs. So
absolutely.
I guess
Yeah.
my next question is for Janet. So, what are some of the first red flags that often get dismissed in the beginning stages of these types of relationships?
So think about when you start a new relationship. You're all excited, you're in the honeymoon phase, and so you're on your best behavior. But what they're doing is they are overdoing it, let's say. They're accentuating it. They're charming, and then they're I would say they spend so much time admiring you, but to the point like, okay, it feels good, so we like it. We feel it feels good, but again, this is happening all inside of us, right? So you don't know, and it could be genuine. So in the beginning, you don't know. What you have to start looking for is when they start blaming you. And like Jodi was saying, they do a lot of projection. So I'm having an affair, you must be having an affair. You're out doing something, or I'm out, so you must be out. And this it drives them crazy, but it's like,
That happen at the beginning, or are they more, do they let those things go? So at the beginning, you're saying that they're overly loving. They make it seem like they are the Prince Charming in every damn Disney movie that you've ever watched in your
that's
entire
right.
life, and it makes me feel amazing. But are they starting to unravel, or are the early signs just like the queen or the king? They're on their best behavior.
I mean, it's a good question. I think that, well, first of all, they have no empathy, right? So if you're not emphatic, you're not even thinking what might the other person be thinking. So they're just doing, right? So and as Jodi also mentioned, is that like there's different levels of a narcissist, right? So some it can be the beginning and then continue. But what happens is then there's a shift, right? So in the beginning, it's more love, 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 love. I love you. You're the best. You're the smartest. You're the most beautiful. I love you. I love you. And then toward the end, it could be, I don't, and in the relationship's a year in, and then it could just still be, but I love you. I love you. Like, like, what's the problem? I love you. Um, some other like red flags would be they're attacking you. Like, let's just say, Frank is attacking Jodi and blaming her and all this, and they go to bed. And then the next morning, right, Jodi's still upset because she doesn't even understand what just happened. And they'll say, okay, bye, I'm going to work. And you're like, that's a red flag. Like, are we not going to talk about what happened? No, they're not going to talk about it. They don't want to talk about it.
Almost like they pretend it didn't even happen.
They do, but in their mind, it didn't happen. It didn't happen.
Crazy.
What are you talking about? So they get their, let's call it their dopamine hit. They get their excitement, and Next day, they're okay. They're okay until the next time something comes up. So it is a hard thing to detect initially. Like the red flags are there. Like let's put it this way, like I, have a client from a few years back and was with someone who she thought was a narcissist. Um, I said there's some traits, right? And I still believe that he was not. Begins dating someone else, and I'm like, red flag, red flag. What do you mean? I'm like, he is love bombing you like every aspect. Let's go to Paris. So a little bit different than Frank, but let's go to Paris. The flowers every day. Who gets flowers every single day? Come on,
Yeah, it's a little
Unless
right?
too.
I'm buying them for
A
myself,
little
no
too,
one's doing that to me.
right. I mean, if we buy it, right? But I mean, like that's pretty overt. Like flowers every day,
Yeah,
flowers every day. So she's hyper vigilant because of what she thought she was in, but she really wasn't. Um, but that's all too dysregulation because she's in fight flight, but now it's mixed with this, oh my God, I feel so good. I
yes.
feel
Yep.
so good until she steps back, right? Now it's 6, 7 months in, and she's like, wait a minute. He's blaming me. I didn't do anything. It gets to exactly what Jodi was saying. Like, I didn't do anything. I didn't do anything. And in therapy, that's what we unpack and dissect is why do you think you did something? This is on them, him, her. This is not on
Yeah,
you. Like, and what are we, children? What did I do?
It's true.
And
crazy.
it's really hard. It's hard for the the person that's not the narcissist in the relationship because they are good at what they do.
Oh, yes.
They're good.
Jodi, Jodi, some of those red flags that Janet just mentioned, when you're looking back at the beginning, what were the early signs that you noticed, but you brushed them aside?
I would say one of the biggest ones, and again, it was a little different with Frank. He was very open and I thought honest from the get-go. He told me like 2 days after we really started like talking and initiating, because we were taking things slow. I was going through my divorce, and I told him. He was like, "Yeah," he goes, "I just want to let you know about my home situation. My ex-girlfriend and her 2 kids and 3 pets still live with me. It's completely platonic. We broke up a couple of months ago, but I feel bad for her playing the victim card.
Yeah,
She's saving money and her kids are going through the school system." And he was very like sincere about it. He goes, "I didn't want you to hear it from somebody else. I didn't want you to think that, hey, I'm shacking up with my ex-girlfriend and I'm trying to date you." He goes, "I'm just being honest about my situation." And to me, I'm an old soul and very mature. I was like, oh, I thought to myself, who am I to judge? I'm getting divorced. I moved back in with my parents. I'm trying to get on my feet. And again, I've never met that ex. I didn't know anything about her. And I said, well, that's nice of him. At least they get along together. And, he's given her a place to stay. She could save
that's
money.
kind of
And
endearing, right? It's kind of
yeah, and I
endearing.
and I said,
Very
"Hey,
endearing.
Bergen County is expensive, so that's what a nice guy." That's what I thought to see.
Right.
And I'm not saying like if anybody else has that situation that automatically means, hey, they're still with them and they're duping you. No, but from a narcissist point of view, again, since he knew of my reputation and how many people I knew in town and how well he was known in town. I think he knew in his mind how monumental it was going to be once we were going to be together. I know it sounds funny like Bonnie and Clyde, but like I told my therapist, he has never gone public with another woman before like he has with me because narcissists like to always look single, and he never went public with that particular ex, maybe 1 or 2 photos. But when I depict in the book, I did ask like at least 50 different people through friends, people I knew, like, hey, is there any chance they're still together? Like, I just want to make sure. I'm getting divorced. I like this guy, but I don't want to get involved as a third party or any of this crap. And everybody was like, oh no, they're not together. Are you kidding me? He's never even home anyway. He's a workaholic. He's just helping her out. He's a good guy. That's what every single person said. So I was like, okay. And then again, from leaving one narcissist, my ex-husband, then going to this one, not knowingly, I had to learn to let my guard down and start to trust people. So I said, okay, let me give him a chance. So that was definitely one big red flag, because if I would have known that obviously he was still with her, and at that time I was his side piece, and then he switched me to be the main supply once she left him, all that's in the book. You
Right.
don't see it when you're in it, because what a narcissist does is they give you this fairy tale life that you guys are meant to be together and you have so much in common, and I get you, and I've never met somebody like you. Like, he would say these things without saying it, and we were such opposites, but we were so attracted to one another. And I always say we were two pieces of a puzzle that weren't supposed to fit, but we just did. So when we worked, but when we didn't, we didn't. And once she moved out, and I honestly thought, she was just moving on with her life, he asked me to move in right away. It was like, it took about a year and a half for her to move out after I started seeing him. And, things just progressed. But he was the one who was like, no, I'm putting you on Facebook, my girl this and my girl that. And we're going to the casinos. She's making me Yukon Gold mashed potatoes. So at that time, I thought he's proud to be with me, which, hey, he should, because I was a very good woman to him. And at that time, I was proud to be with him. He was a goofball, pain in the ass, but I loved him to death. And he knew that. So, they do these cunning and undermined things. And like I said, it's very hard, because the narcissist usually goes by the same playbook, but they all have their little ways of wiggling it around. So it is hard to kind of recognize. But now that I've been with two narcissists, I'm well versed and I know what to look out for sure. So, it's a learning experience.
Yeah. Man, you talked about those red flags in past episodes as well, and we went into greater detail. So, any of you listeners out there, highly recommend going back and listening to the other episodes in the series, because we go into a lot of detail on those red flags. Um, Janet, we talked about love bombing, we talked about trauma bonding. Why is it so difficult to leave a narcissist because of these things?
So the love bombing, which really is this overwhelming attention, right? That feels really good. And we all
Yeah.
want to feel that way, right? Um, so right then and there, it's building this emotional bond, almost like you're getting a high, right? And that's where it really starts with all this love bombing. And anytime you talk about narcissism, love bombing, gaslighting, all this comes out. Like, I would say Jodi's situation is probably more textbook than even most. It is, a
Mm,
guy could look up the DSM-5 and go through, because there is a diagnosis for
Yes,
narcissism.
the code. Yes.
And we could go through this and say this, and this, and whoa, they will have every category, like Frank. Frank also escalated it to physical abuse, or a
yeah.
hand being a little handsy, where they don't all do that. A lot of them do, though. A lot of them do.
Yeah, because that's a
So,
way of getting caught, right? Like, it's shocking to me in past episodes when Jody shared about the physical abuse in that casino, the yelling in front of a bunch of people. That's not common because they don't want to be caught. They want public to make, they want everyone to admire them and make it seem like it'd
absolutely.
be very, very, very strange of them to treat their partner that way. But yeah, that's a rare one that he was so open
He
about
was
that.
overt. But also I don't want to put words in Jody's mouth, but he was also a big drinker.
Oh, yeah.
And
Mm,
you let your
guard
guard
down.
down, we know what happens. And, some people think the truth comes out when you're drinking, and some people think the opposite. I'm a believer in you're open and relaxed and you don't have the wherewithal at that point to put yourself in a different situation, so you tell the truth. So how he was feeling, like he needed to be the center of attention. And Jodi's very engaging. He he doesn't want that. He's got to be the one. But getting back to the whole trauma bonding,
And why it's
it
so hard to leave. Why it's
it's
so hard to leave.
so hard to leave because number one, you have highs and lows, right? So it's like a roller coaster. Oh my God, this is the best time of my life, but this is the worst time of my life. This is my best time of my life. So back once again, you're dysregulated and you're in fight, flight, and you're in like you don't know, you just don't know what's going on. But what you want to do as human beings, right? We want to hold on to the good times. So we tend to go back and say, oh, however, this was amazing, and not think about the bad times. So what I would say to Jodi or a client is, okay, granted, there were good times. No one's saying there weren't, but always have in your back of your head a piece of paper. I'm a big note person. 5 things that were like the worst things, like the embarrassment, the fear, and write them down. So when your brain starts shifting to the good things, you can turn it to the other things to remind yourself this was not good. Like I say to Jodi, you dodged a bullet
Yes, for
getting
sure.
away from Frank.
God, I think
You
she dodged a cannon. Like,
a cannon. Actually, I like that one even better. I,
Yeah.
I, I, I like that even better. I mean, sometimes, as a therapist, we have to check safety, right? Like this could escalate to something. It's not like that's unusual. And now you're in the hospital or whatnot. So, um, it's a hard cycle to break. And as Jodi says in her book too, it's not like when it's over, it's over. It's not. It's
yeah,
not because there was this bond
grip
and it
stays.
was right. I mean, it's hard enough sometimes to break up with someone anyway, especially when we're still in love. But I mean, we're human.
Yeah,
But when somehow they have this grip on you, it's really hard, and those scars remain, and
yeah.
that's they do, and try and get them to not always focus on what was so fabulous, because I think if you really dissect it, the bad outweighed the good,
Oh yeah.
right? So, and you know it now, but when you're in it, we don't know
You're
it, we don't
blinded.
want to know it. We hear it, we see it, but because they're good at being nice to everybody else and making everyone, oh, a nice guy, nice guy, nice guy, for a while. That doesn't last.
Yeah.
But initially it's like, oh yeah, he's a great guy. You heard he was a great guy, right? With people
Absolutely.
that knew him.
Yeah.
So they wouldn't say that now.
No, definitely not. You live and you learn, and like you said, with every narcissist, it's different. I touched on this in the book too. Before he was getting handsy in the casino and all this craziness, like we were saying, most narcissists only abuse behind closed doors, but he was getting so unhinged, he just didn't care. He was
Right.
doing this thing when I first moved in with him for at least a good 6 months to a year. He would love to inflict physical pain on me. Like we would be sitting down and he would be pinching my skin. He would take my
Mhm.
arm and bite it. And I mean, I would be covered in bruises. And I mean, listen, I take Excedrin. I mean, I bruise very easily. I'm Casper White. But like, it was to the point where like I would be wearing a tank top and pants. And my mom would be like, did you get in a fist fight? That's how many bruises I had on my body. He would pinch me by my thighs. He would pinch me here. I mean, it would be all over. And I would yell at him and I'd be like, Frank, stop. It hurts. There's playfulness, then there's having
Oh,
fun. And even during
And
intimacy
let's
time.
not forget consent. When
Yes,
if you're into that, you're into that, that's fine. But you need to
exactly.
give that person permission to spank
Yes.
you or bite you
Yeah.
or
I
nibble on you. Yeah, there's
Exactly.
consent.
Yeah, and I think it was even one time, like before we were going to be intimate, like he actually bit like the inside of my thigh, like right near, my hoo-ha. And I'm like, hello. I mean, it was like a big, like fucking chomp mark. I'm like, what is wrong with you? Like, don't do that. That hurts.
Yeah,
That's a
that hurt.
sensitive area. And that's how it started. And then we would just be sitting on the couch, pinching, bruises all over. So I started smacking his hand away. I said, you bite me again, I said, I'm gonna knock your friggin' old teeth out. Because that's how my Gemini, personality switches because I was getting so aggravated with him.
Yeah.
So it took quite a couple of months and he finally stopped doing it. But once in a while, he would still go in and bite me and he would draw blood a couple of times. I said, listen, I don't know what kind of freaky stuff you're into. I said, but you need to stop. But I think from what I've read about narcissists, he was marking his territory, like when a dog pisses
On a
on,
dog.
on a
A
tree.
boy dog.
Yes, yes, a boy dog. It's
A
it's
boy
just
dog.
insane. So I had to make him stop doing that, and then he'd be good for a while. Here we go with the roller coaster, and then it was the happy drunk, and then it was the nasty drunk, and then it was the handsy and yelling and screaming at the casino, and then it
The
was the
cycle. The
yes,
cycle.
the put downs
But
every.
Jody, let me ask you this then.
Mhm.
Janet just explained div love bombing and trauma bonding and why it makes it so difficult to leave. So you just explained the love bombing, the trauma bonding, and all of the toxic characteristics that you were living through day to day to day. So why was it still so difficult to leave?
Well, number one, because it wasn't consistent. It was highs and lows. He'd be good for a little bit, bad for 2 days, good for 6 months, then really bad for 2 months. So it was a lot of this inconsistency. So, fight or flight mode. My body was dysregulated. My nervous system was shot. I didn't realize what was going on. I really just thought he's off his rocker a little bit, but that he was harmless. I thought that back then.
Yeah.
On top of it, I was so deeply in love with him. I did not want to see the flaws that were in front of me. And more importantly, I kept believing and hoping in potential that he never had in the first place. Hope is the number one thing that keeps a lot of women locked with these men because they're
Is the
like,
romanticizing of who you believe they could be.
yes,
Right on.
yes. Because it's like before he was
Right on.
bruising me, before he was a nasty drunk, before he, threatened to punch me in the face because he's mad, he lost at the roulette wheel and I went to go take a piss and not watch it. Whatever the crazy excuses
Whatever.
are, they weren't like this at one point. And with Frank, he held his mask up for like 2.5 years before he started dropping it. That is insane. That is not the normal statistics for a
Oh,
narcissist. It usually takes
yeah.
them like 3 to 6 months to drop the mask. But again, my situation was different. I was taking it slow, getting divorced. He was still living with his ex. I only met him for lunch like once a week, little text phone calls, little this, little everything was very slow. Things really didn't start progressing till about a year and a half in. And then
Right.
a couple of months later, as they say, once you live with somebody, then you really find out what they're about.
Oh,
Oh,
Amen.
yes.
yeah. That's when the good times start rolling.
That's
Oh,
when
the
the
good
good times
times
start.
roll. Guys, I have like 6 more minutes.
Okay.
I'm
Okay.
sorry.
No worries.
Um,
I would
so
love to then, I guess I
however
would
you
love
wanna,
to ask you, Janet, what are the most important elements that people should take away from this, and how can, talking to someone like you help them change that path?
a lot of work, a lot of work. Um, a lot of building their self-esteem, helping them to trust again, working on boundaries. That's another big avenue that needs to take place is your boundaries, and that there's nothing wrong with having boundaries. Some people think old school thinking, these are what a woman should do, this is what a man should do, this is, and if that's your relationship, fabulous. But they think, oh, I shouldn't have a boundary. Yes, we all should have boundaries. We all should have boundaries, whatever that might be for you. I think that it's important for the survivor to understand that this is not a quick fix. This is a
Mm.
journey. This is day by day. And Jodi and I talk about it. Get through today, get through tomorrow. We're not looking 3 weeks, 3 months, 3 years, because we don't know what's going to happen the next day, right? We can only focus on where we are at the moment. I had a good day, I had a bad day, I had okay. However, you got through the day by day. It's being patient with yourself. It's giving yourself some grace. We beat ourselves up. No, don't beat ourselves up. We need to be strong. We need to know that we're worth, and this is what comes out in EMDR is know our worth. We are worthy. But when you're in relationships like that, where you're made to feel not worthy, not important, not valued, when the bad stuff after the love bombing stops, you you start believing it, and we can rewire our brains. So if someone is doing this to us, we're rewiring it to believe this. Now we have
Mm.
to unwire that to the positive. So any negative that comes up, we have to turn it to a positive. I think that it's trying to get the survivor back into things they enjoy, the life they could have. Stop thinking of the life that they could have had with that person, because that's in our heads.
Yeah.
That is not real. It's fantasy. We want this. Believe me, I'm like this too. I want it to be this, it's going to be this, it's going to be this. And at times it might be, but not most of the time. It's a thing I have in my head. I work on it all the time, trying to, that's not reality, that's fantasy. So it's very important for the survivor to do that and get support from other people. And I can go more into that if you'd like.
Yeah, I guess since you have to go, I would love for you to leave anybody out there a last message. What is something you would like any survivor of this type of abuse to know?
So I would say, first and foremost, that sometimes the abuse is so subtle, it takes a really long time to see it. Like Jodi's situation is a perfect example, 2 years in, because she wasn't with him as much, she wasn't living with him as right, but so it's subtle. So from the outside looking in, it's difficult. But if you're out there, people, and you know people and you see a relationship, start bringing things up to them. Recommend to them that they should talk to someone, read about it. Like Jodi could tell you more than anyone I know who's been in the field, like she could talk like a physician speaks. The people that are helping the survivor, they need to be very emphatic. They need to be compassionate. They need to be supportive. They need support. Um, Either they become their support system, or the survivor should get into maybe a support group where everyone is dealing with the same thing. Like how everyone, when you have one enemy, the narcissist, whomever that is for you, we all bond, right? Because we're going after this. So join a support group. You know, Jodi does everything like that you could possibly do to help her get through this. Um, it's being there for them. It's genuinely being there and not judging, not being judgmental. Well, why didn't you see this? Well, this happened. You told me about this. Okay,
Absolutely. That's a
I'm
good.
human. I'm
Mm.
human. So, and if you're going to judge me, you're not the friend I need right now in this situation. You're just not. You're just
Yeah.
not. Because that's not going to help
No.
the survivor. So the public needs to know that we need to be gentle. We need to be understanding. We really
Beautiful.
do. And if more and more people understand this and are as passionate about it as the three of us are, and can help make change for people, like I would say, think of it as someone who's in a domestic abuse situation, right?
Mm-hmm.
We don't tend to like look down on them. Well, we shouldn't. I guess there might be some people that would say it, but it's a similar parallel, right? Like, why didn't you leave? It's not that simple. I
Yeah,
have children. I don't have money. I don't, you know what I mean? So it's a similar thing. Like, let's help.
Yeah.
Let's be better people all around. And let's
beautiful.
not judge them. We've all been there in one situation or another. It may not be exact, but I think everybody out there would be able to pick something where maybe they shouldn't have done what they did, but they did it. And I think I would just end it with just more about the survivor is that unfortunately, we learn by our mistakes, right? We don't learn by all the great decisions and all the great things we did. And even from childhood into adult, into adolescence, and people say, but they made this mistake. Yeah. And they learned from it. As long as we learn and continue to grow, our minds will be more open to say, let me wait a minute. Is it like, and I don't want people like, and I'm not trying to say this too, like everyone should be like hyper vigilant, like, is someone trying to do this to me? No, but be aware, be
Mm,
aware. And these are some things like I share. Believe in yourself,
Definitely.
don't give up. And you know what? Self love is the best love. I have goosebumps.
Yep.
I want to say thank you so much. This was a pleasure to be a part of this.
Yes.
And anytime. And thank you, Jodi, for being an amazing person.
Of course. No, thank you for being the best therapist. You got me through the hardest times in my life for
Oh,
sure.
thank you. Thank you. But
mm,
believe me, it's the one thing I can say about being a psychotherapist is it is rewarding. When you help people, Jodi knows this is my second career. I was in pharmaceutical advertising, which not rewarding, but a lot of money. And I made a decision and I said, no, I need to do something that's helping, that's making a difference. So and you're going to make me cry, Jodi, when I feel like can and I'm there to help, it's all worth it. It's all
Absolutely.
worth it. But I have to sign off. Let's talk
yes.
later.
Thank you so much for
Tomorrow.
being here
Thank
today.
you.
Thank you
Thank
so much for
you.
being
Yes.
here
Thank
today.
you. I appreciate it.
Have a great weekend,
Yes.
ladies.
You too. I'll talk to you Monday.
Bye.
Thank
Bye
you.
bye.
Bye.
Bye. I guess, Jody, then my last question before we end for today is, what are the biggest things Janet helped you with?
Oh, I guess, just dissecting the whole world of narcissism. I was telling her the whole story. I believe I found her probably in the middle towards the end of my relationship with Frank. So just letting her know what was going on and making sense of it because like she said, you need somebody in your corner who can validate you and can understand your feelings and say no, it wasn't you. That's one thing I have to say I didn't struggle with. I'm not saying I'm perfect, but I knew I wasn't doing anything wrong, but of course I kept questioning, but what did I do so bad that would cause him to treat me like such shit? So it's kind of like on a different level, and we would just dissect it, and I would tell her about his past and what he was doing and the affair and everything. And it's just validation. And she would say, well, he does this because of this. And it was just psychoanalyzing it. And it just gives you a form of relief because you made the right decision. And again, I mean, I told her when I left him, I didn't want to leave, especially the second time. I had to leave because he did not want to change. He didn't want to go to therapy. He never even apologized for the affair. There was always excuses, never even apologized when he called me these horrific names. So at the end of the day, I said to myself, what am I holding on to? Somebody who does not value me, who looks down upon me, makes fun of me for being on disability, back issues, migraines, you know, and then they make fun of you with the new supply and just makes up lies. They're like she said, there's so much more bad that outweighed the good. Those, far and few good memories we've had, I really don't even think about it anymore because I'm like, Was that a show too? We'll never know. There's a lot of questions that will always go unanswered. And the most important thing is I'll never have closure, but the disrespect was so loud. That was my closure, and that's what I have to accept. So it's just embodying.
Let's talk about your book and where can people find it if they want to learn more about your
Yeah,
story?
absolutely. You could go on www.jodilynpavlock.com, have my bio, my book trailer. You can have the link to the book. Amazon's the quickest, easiest place to get it. It's also on Barnes and Nobles online as well. I also run Jodi's Triumph, a Facebook group. It's a narcissistic abuse support group. And I'm also on Facebook, Jodi Lynn Pavlock, Instagram, Jodi Pavlock, and TikTok, Jodi P 1984. And I try to be very active with everybody, DMing messages and anything. And if anybody needs help about narcissism or if they're with the toxic relationship, I'm always here to help and lend a helping hand for sure.
Beautiful. Thanks so much for bringing Janet on today and for coming on and talking about your experience and getting more into it. What are some last thoughts that you have before we leave?
Yes, I just want to let anybody know who's going through the tough time that I did, if they're trying to weigh the decision of leaving a toxic ex, whether it's because of abuse, an affair, whatever the case is, just know that you are worth it. It is worth getting out, whether you have kids, you have no money, you have nowhere to go. Just try to make an exit plan, rely on friends and family, and just don't feel like you're trapped. Even if you're married and you don't believe in divorce, I've had a lot of that happen with a lot of people and stuff. And I just don't want people feeling like just because they made the wrong decision years ago, marrying this person or having children with them, it's not a death sentence that you have to stay with them. You deserve more and you have to make a better life for yourself, but you got to make that decision for yourself to forge forward, and you can do it.
Beautiful. Thanks again. And to
Yes.
our audience, if any of you are struggling with any narcissistic abuse, there are many resources. We'll make sure to link Janet's information in the show notes as well, so you can reach out to her with questions. Jodi has so much knowledge, as you know, on the subject as well, so please reach out to her on all of her handles. It's a real thing, you guys, and it's extremely difficult to get out of. Our hearts go out to all of you, whether you're struggling or not. Thanks for being here today. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Until next time, take care, everyone.
Bye.